War II has always been something that fascinates me, which I've always found really strange. I'm not the biggest fan of modern type history, more of an ancient history guy. I think it might have to do with how, evil Hitler was. I absolutely love getting into the head of evil people, seeing what makes them tick and why they do what they do. Sometimes it's a sad reason, sometimes it's horrible, and sometimes the person is really fucked, where nothing could have saved them or changed their mind. First appearing in William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream in the 1590s, the word swagger describes a confident or arrogant stride, confidence, and pride. History was one of the things I got into later in life, compared to the other things that I love. Stuff like gaming, Japan, space, and Greek myth. I started liking those when I was a kid, between 5 and 10. When it came to history stuff, I always thought it was a bit boring, right up until I started taking ancient history in high school when I was about 15 or 16. The teacher for it was great and actually made me care about ancient history. Modern history is different. I don't really find it boring, but I just don't really care much about it. Oxford University is around 250 years older than the Aztecs, having been founded in 1096 CE. Thoughts on playthroughs of the Assassin's Creed games? I know they're not historically accurate, but I think it would be cool having playthroughs of them here. The Odyssey and the Iliad by Homer have been dated back to either the late 8th century or the early 7th century BCE, as by this time, writing in Greece had become widespread. The Greek city of Marathon served as the inspiration for the naming of the running competition. A Greek messenger named Philippides is reported to have run until he arrived in Athens to report the outcome of the Battle of Marathon, which took place in 490 BCE. The narrative goes that he ran over 40 miles before passing out from weariness. Catreus, king of Crete, there was a prophecy that told he would die by his son's hand. Ixion, king of Lapith, bound to a flaming wheel in Tartarus for attempting to force himself on Hera. Memnon, king of Ethiopia, fought on the side of Troy in the Trojan War. Peleus, a king and father of Achilles. Teucer, king of Salamis, fought on the Greek side in the Trojan War. Related to the Furies, and inflicting revenge on the younger generations for the transgressions of their forefathers. Alistair symbolized the personification of the family blood feud. The daughter of Dike, Hesychia, is the personification of quiet, stillness, rest, and silence. Queens of the Amazons: Aegea, Hippolyta, Lampedo, Marpesia, Marina, Orythyla, Atrira, Penthesilea, Thalestris. Ares, god of war. Athena, god of warfare. Pallas, god of warcraft. Alala, spirit of the warcry. Polmos, personification of war. Enyalias, minor god of war. Enyo, goddess of destructive war. Achilles is described by Dares as having powerfully built legs and arms, a broad chest, and a fine mouth. He goes on to describe his wavy chestnut brown hair and his joyful expression, which befits a man richly endowed, mild in manner, fierce in battle.
I was just thinking of you, Zagreus.
Well, see you.
My favourite Greek hero of all time is Heracles. I absolutely love his story, from killing his wife and child, going through all the labours and redeeming himself. However, my favourite Greek mythology story is Orpheus and Eurydice, and Orpheus making Hades shed a tear and tell Orpheus that he has a chance to rescue Eurydice. The whole thing ends in tragedy, which is the cherry on top. Not everything is a happy ending, and sometimes the sad ending makes for a better story. Getting back to the mythology stuff tomorrow, just wanted to let everyone know that I'm currently working on a comic that involves Greek mythology and other mythologies as well. It's called Blood Bond, and I've got links for it down below. So I'll just be putting up all the different pages and whatnot that we have so far in this video. So if you're interested in it, you can just check the link below and check it out. We also have a Twitter and Instagram and everything that will also be linked below. In the constellation Cerberus, introduced in 1687, Cerberus is drawn as a three-headed snake, held by Heracles' hand. In 1829, a French naturalist gave the name Cerberus to a genus of Asian snakes, which are commonly called dog-faced water snakes in English. The Serbian hard rock band Cerber, formed in 1981, is named after the hound of the underworld. The daughter of Daike, Hesychia, is the personification of quiet, stillness, rest, and silence. Is Australian slang for a car accident. Personally, I haven't heard this one before, but other people that I know say that they have. Ace, which means excellent or very good. Example, that's ace, or that show was ace.
Aerial ping pong means Australian rules football or AFL.
Ambo means ambulance or ambulance driver. An example of this would be, I need to call an ambo, or the ambo will be here soon. Ankle biter means a young or small child. An example of this would be, that little ankle biter wouldn't stop crying. Arvo means afternoon in Australian slang. An example of this would be, how are you this arvo, or what are you doing this arvo. Aussie means Australian or Australian related things. There's a very popular saying here with the word Aussie in it. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Oi, oi, oi! The Aussie salute is just what you do to swat or shoo away flies or bugs that are annoying you. Avos is Australian slang for avocados. An example of this is, I'm gonna go buy some avos from Woolies. I decided that I want to try and save up to get a license to take care of native Australian animals, which is something that I've wanted for a long time. I've been studying a lot about different native animals and what care they need if injured and stuff like that over my break from uni. I really hope that I'm able to get it one day. I think my favourite Australian slang is get a dog up here. Thinking about maybe doing a Ghost of Tsushima playthrough on this channel eventually. It won't have commentary or anything, just like 100% in the game. They might take a really long time to get it done though. I'm thinking about working on it while I also work on a Lost in Random playthrough for my Sayuri Chaos channel. I think the newest thing about Japan that I've been learning about is all the different yokai. Before this channel, I didn't really know much about them, except for the more popular ones like the Kappa and Akaname. It's been really fun learning about more, and I think the Kudan is one of my favourites I've learnt about recently. So I have Inuyasha here, but I'm a bit of an idiot. I purchased book 2 and 3 when I thought I was buying 1 and 2, so now I have to buy the first one whenever I can. A 9.1 magnitude earthquake occurred on March 11th, 2011, off the northeastern coast of Honshu in Japan. Within 30 minutes of the earthquake, a tsunami broke through seawalls and shut down 3 nuclear reactors in a matter of days. Seismic earthquakes occur frequently in Japan, with about 1,500 of them being observable each year, despite the fact that most people strolling around them are usually unaware. For Tokyo Tower to be fully painted in orange and white, 28,000 litres of paint are needed. The number 4 is considered unlucky because its pronunciation is shi, which is the term for death in Japanese. Hospitals and hotels occasionally miss out the 4th floor, as some people are still very superstitious. According to Japanese tradition, the Kudan is a yokai that has a human head and a cow body. Despite being descendant from cows, it can understand and speak human language. Aeneas is considered the founder of the Roman people, according to the legend Virgil employed in his writings. Romulus and Remus were both descendant from him via their mother. Bears are common in Native American mythology and frequently serve as metaphors for strength, knowledge, and healing. In several legends, bears are portrayed as moral characters who punish both humans and animals for misbehaving or acting disrespectively. An ancient sky goddess and one of the oldest deities of Egypt, Mehet Weret, is the celestial cow goddess who rose from the primordial waters of chaos to give birth to the sun god Ra. at the beginning of time. Her name means great flood, and she is associated with fertility and abundance. Working on a few things and thinking about doing a 100% playthrough of the two Norse God of War games on here. From start to finish, trying to 100% it and collect all trophies without commentary. Can't talk and concentrate that hard at the same time. It's been really fun learning about other mythologies besides my favourite, Greek mythology. I know the world is huge, but I really wasn't expecting there to be so many different mythologies. Egyptian mythology and the many different ones from Africa have been some of my favourite to learn about, followed closely by the different Asian mythologies. Only 6 of the planets, and Pluto, are named after Roman gods in our solar system. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus, strangely, is named after the Greek Titan instead of the Roman version, and Earth comes from a word meaning soil. Top 5 most popular languages in the world according to Babbel: Chinese, Spanish, English, Arabic, and Hindi. By value, Botswana is the world's top producer of diamonds as of 2023, and by volume it is ranked second. This area has produced some of the biggest diamonds in the world. So the reasoning for this channel existing is that I've recently been very interested in learning more about other countries, outside of my home country Australia and my favourite country Japan. So far I've been learning a lot and it's been really fun to share it in video form. Favourite thing I've learnt so far is that Canada has the most lakes in the world, with over 60% of the world's lakes being there. With 3.3 million people living in an area of 1,564,116 square kilometres, Mongolia is the world's most sparsely inhabited country. There are no recognised countries in the world that start with the letters W and X. Not feeling too well mentally today, so why don't you head over to my Chaos Australia channel and watch some slang videos over there. In the end, the 13 colonies were Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts Bay, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, South Carolina, and Virginia. Most active volcanoes are found in the vicinity of main tectonic plate borders. Due to the lack of plate boundaries in Australia, active volcanoes here are very uncommon. Heard Island and the neighbouring McDonald Islands, however, are 2 of the Australian territories with active volcanoes, and they're located about 6,500 kilometres southwest of Perth. More than any other country, Peru is home to 3,700 species of butterflies, making up almost 20% of the total species found worldwide. Up to 4,200 butterflies are thought to eventually be found in Peru because there are still a great deal of unrecorded species there. Ecuador's name is derived from the equator's Spanish name, and located approximately 24 kilometers from Quito, the country's capital, is known for its equator straddling landscape, which is commemorated with a monument. New Zealand became the first sovereign nation in history to codify the right of women to vote in parliamentary elections, when Governor Lord Glasgow signed a new electoral act into law on September 19th, 1893. There are 195 countries in the world today, 54 in Africa, 38 in Asia, 44 in Europe, 33 in Latin America and the Caribbean, 14 in Oceania, and 2 in North America. Native to Malaysia and Thailand and other places in Southeast Asia, Mapelo is a citrus fruit and is the largest citrus fruit in the world. With 879,800 lakes total, Canada is the country with the most lakes in the world, having more lakes than all other countries put together. The United States, the United Kingdom, Portugal, Norway, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Italy, Iceland, France, Denmark, Canada, and Belgium were the 12 founding members of NATO. Nigeria is an African nation of about 186 million people, speaking over 520 different languages throughout its 36 states. As a multilingual and multicultural nation with 3 main dialects, Nigeria is extremely difficult to assign an official native language to. Argentina, Buenos Aires, Bolivia, Sucre, Brazil, Brasilia, Chile, Santiago, Colombia, Bogota, Ecuador, Quito, Falkland Islands, Stanley, French Guiana, Cayenne, Guyana, Georgetown, Paraguay, Asuncion, Peru, Lima, Suriname, Paramaribo, Uruguay, Montevideo, Venezuela, Caracas. Love and passion have always been closely linked to Paris. Numerous love stories in literature, movies, and music have included the city as their setting. Even the Eiffel Tower has evolved into a symbol of love. I've always been fascinated by the places in the world that have wild bears. Every single continent, except Antarctica and Australia, have some sort of wild bear. In Australia, if you want to see bears, you have to go to a zoo. And koala bears don't count as they're not actually bears, they just apparently look like them. Which, personally, I don't think they do.
Volcanoes.
The names of 48 states were inscribed on the Lincoln Memorial at the time of its construction. The names of only 26 states are written beneath the image of the Lincoln Memorial on the $5 bill. The Bahamas obtained independence on July 10th, 1973, and became a free and sovereign nation after 325 years of British control. The islands joined the Commonwealth in 1969. Nearly all of the material of a neutron star is made up of neutrons crammed into a small radius. This material would weigh 9 billion kilograms in just one teaspoonful. The most powerful and bright electromagnetic event since the Big Bang. Gamma ray bursts can discharge more energy than our sun would in its whole 10 billion year lifetime. Science calculated that the moon is moving away from Earth by 3.8 centimeters a year, or around the speed at which fingernails grow. In contrast to most other planets, Venus spins backwards. Its revolutions, or spins, is the opposite direction of Earth's rotation. Uranus is the only planet in the solar system to be named after a Greek god or titan, instead of the Roman version. I've loved space for as long as I can remember. It's one of the things I've loved and been interested in for the longest time. Followed in second by video games, then anime and manga in third, then fourth is Greek mythology. I love space so much that I wanted to become an astronaut, but gave up that dream when everyone around me, outside certain family members, told me that I'd never get good enough grades in school. So, like an idiot, I abandoned that dream, but still kept my love for space and learning about space. Which I guess led me to eventually making this channel. And fun fact, this channel took off quicker than any of my other channels when I first made them. It hasn't even been a month and people are watching and subscribing. I think it took around 5 or 6 months for my other channels to even get anywhere when I first made them. So, thank you for that. The precise number of stars in the universe is unknown, as it's impossible to count them all. The Milky Way is home to several 100 billion stars, as an estimate. In the universe, there are billions of other galaxies with an equal or greater number of stars. My favourite planet had always been Pluto, because it reminded me of Hades, one of my favourite Greek gods, and the dog from Disney. However, it's not a planet anymore, which is sad, so I might have to choose a new one. When the pace of star creation in a galaxy is significantly higher than either the galaxy's long-term average rate or the rate seen in the majority of neighbouring galaxies, the galaxy is said to be experiencing a starburst. When a galaxy undergoes a starburst, the pace of star formation is so high that the galaxy uses up all of the gas reservoir from which the stars are formed, considerably faster than the galaxy's lifetime. Science calculated that the moon is moving away from Earth by 3.8 centimeters a year, or around the speed at which fingernails grow. Growing up, I was taught to have an appreciation for all music, even the types of music I don't like, which is why I don't have any favourite musicians or artists. I have many different artists and genres of music in my playlists, anything from Frank Sinatra right up to modern day music. I do have a favourite genre of music, basically anything metal, and I do have a favourite song currently, Sail by AWOL Nation. Number 2. My top 5 favourite things, topics, or whatever in the entire world are space, video games, Japanese culture, Greek mythology, and animals. And I have a channel dedicated to 4 out of those 5 things. Chaos Space, Chaos Japan, Chaos Greek Myth, and Chaos Things About Animals. I don't have one dedicated to gaming anymore, but there will be the occasional gaming video on this channel. Maybe a whole playthrough or trophy hunt, whenever I have time to sit down for that. Number 3. Despite loving all types of different mythologies, religious tales, supernatural creatures and stuff like that, I'm an atheist. I love learning many different things about mythologies, creatures, religions, but I just don't believe in any of it anymore. In my opinion, there's a lot more logical explanations for things. Number 4. I come from a very intelligent family on my father's side, with my grandmother being extremely good at English, and my grandfather being extremely good at maths. Their son, my dad, is an extremely intelligent man in many different fields, and is Mensa level. My brother is intelligent as well, and so am I apparently. Number 5. I'm bisexual and polyamorous. I don't really give a toss about pronouns, so just use whatever ones you want with me. Stick to one or change it up day to day, I honestly do not care. Number 1. I don't have favourite music artists, I just like music, so I listen to many different artists and genres. If I like a song, it goes into my playlist. Number 2. My 5 favourite things / topics / whatever are space, video games, Japanese culture, Greek mythology, and animals. Number 3. Despite loving all different types of mythologies and religious tales, I am an atheist. I love learning about different religions and mythologies, I just don't believe in any of it. Number 4. I come from a very intelligent family on my father's side. My grandparents were good at maths and English. My dad is intelligent and Mensa level. My brother is intelligent, and so am I apparently. Number 5. I am bisexual and polyamorous. I honestly don't care what pronouns people use for me. Just pick one, call me that, and don't complain. Water that flows into the Atlantic Ocean or Gulf of Mexico, and those that flow into the Pacific Ocean, are naturally divided by the Continental Divide, often known as the Great Divide, from Alaska all the way down into South America. The final Christian ruler of the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople was Constantine XI. His final sighting was at the city walls fighting against the Ottomans in 1453, but the precise circumstances of his death have remained shrouded in legend. I'm currently working on a Lost and Random playthrough, so that should be up maybe in a month or 2. The tusk of a narwhal is essentially a tooth from the inside out, with up to 10 million nerve endings on each surface. The narwhal tusk is extremely sensitive. Spider silk can be up to 1,000 times thinner than human hair, and is lighter than cotton. A business, or historically a busyness, is the name of a group of ferrets. The tongue of a giant anteater can flick 150 times a minute in and out of its mouth, measuring 2 feet in length. Because of its sticky saliva coating, anteaters can slurp up termites and ants. After a few weeks, a newborn panda's fur starts to grow into the characteristic black and white pattern. This can take the cub a few months to fully create the pattern. First thing I want to do when I get enough money is obtain a license to keep and help native animals and other type of animals. Like, it would be nice to have a pet wombat, but I think it would be even better to take it in, care for it, and eventually release it if it's injured when it's fully healed. That's one of my goals for when my channels and comic takes off. A business, or historically a busyness, is the name of a group of ferrets. smallest bird in the world is the Cuban bee hummingbird, which is only 2 inches long and weighs about 1.5 grams. The common wombat named Patrick weighed up to 85 kilos and held the record for the heaviest known wombat. Lobsters have an indefinite lifespan since aging does not increase their risk of dying, even though they are still vulnerable to sickness or attacks. An enzyme called telomerase shields the DNA in lobster cells from harm during replication. With its lightning-fast claw-snapping ability, the pistol shrimp can form a bubble that bursts into a louder blaster sound. A gunshot is more quiet than the shockwave of this shrimp, which can reach up to 230 decibels.